Hey there, Tina here. Happy 11/11. I hope you are experiencing some beautiful energies today. In this, it's been a very powerful year, but it's a very, I always find that the winding down of each year, energies really escalate and sort of start to whirlpool. And this year is absolutely no exception to that. Today I'm wanting to talk about our addiction to drama and something that I experienced a few months ago. I think it was around mid-August of this year. I received a very, very clear, intuitive message that it was time, and this is what the message was: Tina, it's time for you to recover from your addiction to drama. And in my kind of human arrogance, my response was like, I thought I already had. And clearly that's not the case. So it was very quickly shown to me where I was holding most of that addiction. And it was in relation to social media. I'm not blaming social media for anything. This is just my experience. But there was a lot that has come since then. So I was also told in that it was all happening within that moment, to recover from my addiction to drama. Also was reminded that in the past I had recovered from an addiction to alcohol. So I knew what this could feel like and what this process could be for me. So that became very simplified. That simplified it. And I just wanted to take a little sidestep and explain my views of addiction. So how I view addiction is that it's behavioral. I understand that physically we can create dependencies on certain substances, but the core of the addiction is behavioral. In other words, what brings us to, if it is a substance or an action, what is the driving motivation or the driving force of that? So for me, this was many, many, many years ago. It was actually after my spiritual awakening. In the coming years, as you start to awaken, everything starts to shift and change in your life. And for me, I started to love myself. I started to really appreciate and enjoy myself. And like maybe just a little bit. But it was a lot. It's sort of like that metaphor of lighting a match in a dark room. It was no longer dark. And so for me, I got to a certain point in my path of awakening where alcohol just didn't seem to fit anymore. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how, like, I know that experience, any relationship with alcohol is going to be very different for everybody. So I'm not really going to get into what my experience was. Less than some, more than others. So, but for me, it was once I realized that what my driving motivation for using alcohol was to cover up or numb the sort of sense of self-loathing, just not loving myself, and really trying hard, really putting a lot of energy into convincing myself and anyone around me that that's not how I saw it, that's not how I felt. So for me, as soon as I realized that I had the opportunity to allow myself to love myself and to receive and be open to God's love within me, that was a game changer for me. So, and it became much easier. My personal experience was I had a moment of like, it was no longer an issue. I was done and I didn't crave anything anymore. That's not how it is for everybody. I understand that. Back to what my experience was in August with social media. So it was very clear to me all of a sudden that I should also say too that on the spectrum of social media usage, I'm probably on the low end. However, like a lot of people who use social media, it's something that you just pick up your phone or your device in the morning and it's the first thing you check. And just realizing how, because the things have evolved in social media where the energies are on a large scale, very, very intense. So I was starting my day with really low energy, and I would start my day feeling upset. I'd start my day feeling sad, and then I would carry that. And I, maybe not through the entire day, but it just became very clear, like, why do I think I need to do that? How is that actually serving me? And for me, it just wasn't. So I just stopped. I actually haven't looked at any social media, any of my social media pages or sites or whatever you call it, since August. And I feel amazing. So within a couple of weeks, I just started to notice how much brighter I was feeling, how much higher my energy was. And after a couple of weeks, because I was tuning in and I was kind of doing like a little, I don't write a physical journal. I just kind of just have daily introspection. It's just how my mind works. But so after a couple of weeks, when I tuned into it and I was talking with my higher self, and I was kind of nudged to teach this. And I said, okay, that's interesting. Like, how do you teach this? What is drama? And the definition that came back felt very profound for me. So the definition, when I asked, what is drama? The response was anything that takes you away from your true self. And my mind just kind of blew open because I just realized, holy geez, that's a lot. That's a lot of our day-to-day existence. And so looking into a little bit further, like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What can take me away from myself? I'm always with myself, but it's the mind, right? So it's anything that shifts your focus to the external, puts you full into your ego and looking only at things that are happening outside of you, the idea that things are happening to you, the idea or belief that things are out of control or out of your control, anything that creates or prompts a feeling or belief or triggers a belief in you that you are helpless, hopeless, powerless in any way, that's drama. Our world is rampant with drama because we collectively have an addiction to drama. I remember many, many years ago when I listened to the audio tapes of Conversations with God, and I still have them and I still listen to them from time to time. But there was such a big message around that in those writings. And I thought at that time, there was such a strong tinge of resonance for that, although I didn't fully understand it. But it was one of those things that I just kind of kept with me, and I started to observe, like, what is this addiction to drama? What does that mean? And so I started looking at it in my life. I started observing it in the world. And I'm not sure how far I can go on that in this video in terms of giving examples, because I think this video could go on for hours. So again, just bringing that back to the simplified definition of drama, which is just anything that takes us away from our true self. And just sit with that. And I invite you to, ponder that and just kind of explore within your own life. How is everything serving me? What is my relationship with it? So, so since then, I personally just have not been too much around social media. I've checked messages and things like that. And again, this is not a negative around social media itself. As humans, we do have we've had a tendency to take something that has a great potential, and we We kind of grow it into something that is very dysfunctional. So I also realize the irony that if you are watching this video, you are likely watching it on some social media platform. So I get that. And I haven't really done anything in terms of my public work since August, because I've really just gone really deep into this for myself and just been tuning into that. Yeah, it's big. So I also wanted to just offer a recap on the energies of 2020. So if you saw, I did do a video in, I believe it was April, on the energies of 2020. And this was all shown to me towards the end of 2019. So the energies of 2020 as a metaphor, of course, 2020, the first thing we think of is vision. So there were 3 visions shown to me, and I'm just going to go over those now. So the first one is hindsight. And we have that saying that hindsight is always 2020. So the picture that was shown was dots, all these dots, and that how they're all connected. And the invitation was to trust that all these dots are always connected, and the reminder that we can't always see that bigger picture. So each dot represents each moment. So from this moment of awareness, I can look back through my hindsight and see all these different dots in my life that maybe in those moments that some of them were really challenging, really difficult. You feel almost defeated. You feel so stuck because you can't see and you don't know how anything good can maybe come of it or how you can move on from it. Again, that's tying into our addiction to drama, because a lot of the times when we're in a tight spot in life, the mind will just kind of repeat these old patterns of drama, which just cloud our vision. So again, just the reminder is looking at these dots and understanding that they all do connect. We don't see the bigger picture. That's not likely to change. There is... there was this, I don't know if you're familiar with Bashar, Bashar.org. So Bashar is an extraterrestrial being channeled through Daryl Anka. And the wisdom that comes through is just really fascinating to me. So one of the things that Bashar had said quite a while ago that I had heard was the reminder that our physical minds are not designed to comprehend what's going to happen. Our minds can only comprehend what is happening. So that's why there's so, especially in the last 10 years, in this timeline, that there has been so much focus on presence and practicing presence and understanding the power of presence. Shout out to Eckhart Tolle. But so the thing is with those dots is that we can't see beyond them. So we can only understand what's happening. So the invitation with the hindsight was to really come into that place of trusting each moment, trusting that everything is connected. And that's also what's happening as we are evolving here, is through our hindsight, we are able to see more. We're able to see the interconnectivity with everything, because we are all connected. Nothing out there can happen without happening within me. So, and our ability to see that bigger picture is enhancing, and just trusting that there is a bigger picture. It may not entirely be that we can see and understand and comprehend that whole big picture, but our ability to understand it is enhancing. So next vision is our peripheral vision. So what's happening is that our blinders are coming down. So we've been living like this. We've been living in very linear perception and not being aware of what's going on around us. Not really. the internet has certainly helped us to bring those blinders down, because our levels of communication and sharing information obviously has heightened a lot. So we're able to see that more, but this year is really ramping that up. So our blinders are coming down. We're able to see more of what's happening around us. And it's okay. It's not comfortable. There's so much of it that is really hard. Those blinders, a lot of it is energy that, when we talk in terms of dark and light energy, I simply define dark energy as deception. So when there's there's unintentional deception, because we hide things from ourselves all the time. This is also part of those blinders coming down, as we are seeing more of ourselves. And there is also intentional deception. That's that really dark energy. So as these blinders come down and we are shining more light, we are able to see those things that have been intentionally deceiving or intentionally hiding in those dark corners. And there's something that my very dear friend Linda Austin had said to me years ago. We were talking about the metaphor of the dark room and lighting the match in the dark room, and it's no longer dark. You can start to see, right? And it's just, I think that's such a powerful metaphor to understand that even though it's just a little match, because sometimes we can feel like our light is so small, but it is lighting an entire dark room. What happens also, so Linda had said, the beast that hides in the corner, when you shine a light on it, it lashes out. So we're experiencing that. That's not going to stop for a while. So those blinders, as they keep coming down, we're going to keep seeing more of that, because what we are experiencing is the evolution of our consciousness. We are experiencing higher levels of consciousness, and that's where we're going. So that's light energy. And we need to see more. There's more transparency. So anything that doesn't want to be seen, because it thrives in, those beasts hide and they thrive in those dark corners. That's where they live. And so you can just imagine, if you just visualize that, it ain't pretty. But it's happening. It's happening. So the invitation for that also is, the personal practice is to strengthen your focus on what's going on within you as you see more around you. So not getting so fixated on that external, because that's the drama, right? Not getting so fixated on that external and what you're seeing, but tuning into your experience of it and your relationship with it. There's something also that Linda Austin had said, which I think is so powerful. She had said that the sole purpose of relationships, and I spell it's SOLE and SOUL. So the sole purpose of relationships is to give us an opportunity to choose who we prefer to be, or who we wish to be. So everything is relative. So who am I in relation to whatever I'm experiencing right now? That's a really very powerful practice, because it brings us into ourselves. It helps us to be self-empowered. And it's not always comfortable also. So just that reminder too, because when we shift that focus, the drama from the outside, and we internalize, and we look at ourselves and we choose to raise our own vibration, there is a process of discomfort, because the lower vibrations, again, there is that beast lashing out metaphor with an external perception, but there's also the parts within us that do not want to see. I don't want to know all that bad stuff or all the craziness that's going on. I don't want to know that. I don't want to know my own insanity. I don't want to know that things have been that dark. And that's personal choice. There's likely to be increased discomfort the more we sort of if we try to ignore that what's going on within ourselves and what's going on within the world. I think a little side note on that too, because our minds, we have this division, right? So we just, again, the perception of black and white thinking, that it's just one or the other. That's that divisive idea that there's only two ways to be in this world. But we're actually shifting from that linear perception of ourselves and life into multidimensional awareness, which is, again, I'll just use my little tool here. This is so limited for what multidimensionality actually is. If you think, because linear is obviously straight line, point A to point B. There's an idea within linear thinking that everything is kind of predestined, and that it just happens. And there is a level of truth to that. There's also free will, which gives us the opportunity to choose in each moment. So that black and white thinking, there's the spectrum between the two, and we might think that it's gray, but it's actually color. And color, the nature of color is multidimensional because it's kind of endless. You can take your primary colors and you can mix them and you can start to create new shades. And so you're constantly able, it's very creative. You can create new colors all the time. You can do different things and then incorporate, expressions of that color. So a metaphor of that color is also, or that spectrum of color is choice. It's options. So as those blinders come down, again, we have options. Who do you wish to be? Who do you prefer to be? How do you prefer to be? How do you, what ways can you be that support you in creating the world that you prefer? Okay, I feel like there's something there, but maybe I'll come back to it if it comes back. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next vision, which is, of course, maybe not, of course, future vision. So when this was all shown to me, it was interesting because there was just kind of a blank. And I realized that, the path that a lot of us have been on with our path of awakening and understanding our co-creative powers, we held a lot of focus on the future that we wanted to create, which is very purposeful. Now, and we did that from a very individual sort of standpoint, my future, my family's future. But now we're kind of, that multidimensional awareness brings us into that understanding that everything is connected. So how do the creation of the future is more inclusive of the whole, which is how we function at higher levels of consciousness. So a more highly evolved society is more inclusive. We are more considerate to how our choices affect the whole. So here we are, again, just trying to make sense of this, kind of, again, breaking off of addictions to drama, which can, again, that ego, and the ego is just perceiving ourselves as separate from everything, which isn't true. Again, it's perception. Side note too, none of the old stuff is bad, okay? Like, this is just older consciousness. We are just lifting our consciousness and raising it. So it can be very helpful to release any resentments that we hold toward ourselves or others for how things have been. As those blinders come down, a lot of stuff is showing itself. There are levels of intentionality with that, and there are great levels of just being at lower consciousness. We just don't know what we don't know. So we can come into a place of loving and accepting ourselves and having compassion for ourselves and each other with that. And that's very important also, because as we evolve into higher consciousness, there's sort of two pinnacles that support that. One is compassion. The second is thinking for the self. So being self-empowered, and again, the drama is just going along with whatever is told, whatever I hear, and I'll just take it and accept it as truth, when clearly we're in that time where we're questioning that, right? And this is just what it looks like. This is change. I think a lot of us have sensed change coming for a very long time. We are growth-seeking beings. Change is inevitable. We are just experiencing such a massive change, and maybe we had ideas of what that looked like. And so seeing how things are looking right now might be difficult to accept, but it just is what it is. This is what this level of the change looks like. This is just what's happening. So that future is yet to be determined, because until we have a clearer relationship with our hindsight and our peripheral vision, we cannot therefore really create the future that we prefer. So all those things kind of need to be tended to. I want to say first, but then that's linear to think that it's going like that. That like first we have to do this and then we can create the future. That's linear. It's all creating it at the same time. What am I trying to say? The full vision of it. It's like we're literally breaking off from an old world and creating an entirely new world that it functions on very different energies, completely different energies. Linda also would use the metaphor of a computer, and I think that that's really helpful too. So taking like some software from a computer and trying to operate it, trying to run it on a completely different operating system, where it's not compatible. That's what our mind will try to do. We try to run these old programs, but the whole energy, the whole field of energy and the whole field of consciousness it's new, it's very different. It's hard to comprehend that because we've never experienced this before. So there's a lot that's catching up. There's a lot that's, again, just continuing to shift and change. But trying to take those old programs, it's like square peg, round hole. And we'll probably continue to try and ram those things together until we realize it doesn't work. And then I think a lot of us now realize that it doesn't work, and we're pivoting our focus towards creating something that is supportive of these new energies. And that's clearly just taking time for a lot of us. That is also might be triggering some impatience. I'll own that. I do get impatient sometimes. I think that I am ready for a lot of these new systems to be implemented, and sometimes I get a little resentful, and sometimes I get frustrated, and I get caught up in my own drama, and I project my own drama onto other people's drama, and I think, like, enough already. Just a little example of that for me is, I hope for the day, I look forward to the day that I can hear somebody who's in a position of leadership, politics, who does not succumb to the name calling. I don't care who you are. I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired of that. I feel like I want to call a timeout for these kids. And sorry, I know that's totally condescending, and that's just what goes through my mind sometimes. And I notice I have my moments of impatience and frustration and resentment, because I'm just tired of it. But I'm not through with it myself, right? I still get frustrated with people on the road, at the grocery stores, like depending on where my stress level is that day. So working on compassion, self-love, Okay, so I think that's it. Just checking my notes here. I've covered all the points that I wrote down and a lot of other ones. Yeah, just the invitation and reminder to just keep as centered as you possibly can. Remember that the position of the observer is extremely powerful. So if you're getting caught in the pendulum swing of like one extreme to the other and that divisiveness, there's drama there. So allow yourself. This is how we, where's my pendulum? Shoot, don't have it. But the pendulum, so we can experience the two extremes, and then there's somewhere in the middle here is where our true balance is. So just try and, keep bringing yourself back, keep diverting your focus back within yourself. Pivot your focus. Remember that your consciousness is powerful. It is what is creating all of this. So you can, becoming the master of your own creative abilities, pivot your focus. I think we have this idea that if there's something going on, there's this big chaotic thing going on, and I think I have to give my full attention to it. That's when we get caught up in that drama and we think like, oh my gosh, like there's this fight and I got to take sides and I got to push against it. Side note, energetically, if you push, it's all interconnected. Everything is connected. So when we push something away with the intention of getting rid of it, it doesn't go anywhere. That's why things get harder and harder and harder, because when we push away, it just springs back. So again, coming back to that spectrum of color, what are your options? Bring your consciousness into this. What are your options? How else can you be in relation to that? Sometimes I think that we hold a great belief of, or big belief around, because to me it makes sense. Like you're allowed to change your focus. You can pivot your focus onto something that is more preferable to you, and you can allow that mess to be what it is. Because the more you focus toward what is more in alignment with your true joy and your higher sense of knowing yourself, that thing can exist. Multidimensional, right? So it's allowed to exist. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to push against it. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to hate it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But if you can allow yourself to focus your consciousness toward what it is that you prefer, then that's when things start changing. And just try it for a day. Try it for a week. If you're finding yourself stuck in that like divisiveness, just allow yourself to just shift your focus a little bit and see what happens. How do you feel? What are the thoughts and beliefs that are coming up? Like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like I have to go back into the fight. We have a really long history with war and fighting. So it makes sense that that's where our minds want to go, because that's how we've been conditioned. I don't mean we've been conditioned like somebody actually conditioned. That's drama. But I've been in wars. I know that. I can recall lifetimes. And there's such a militant conditioning in our minds. I know for myself, earlier this year, I really became aware of like this sense of like, leave no man behind. And I was terrified because I wanted, like I kept rising up. But there was a part of me that was saying, whoa, 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 you can't, because you're supposed to stay back and take care of everybody. Nobody leaves. But it's not leaving. It's lifting the energy. So continuing to shift and pivot your focus and choose, again, just whatever focus feels truest for you. And just observing the battle that might be going on in your own mind. Okay. I could go on and on. I will be back. I wish you a beautiful day. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy life. Enjoy love. Be good. I don't mean be good to others. Don't be like a nice person. be love. And love is not, love does not equate to manners or politeness, right? Like that's a very old paradigm. That's a very old idea that in order to, be a good person, that you're and be loving, that you can only say nice things, or you can only, whatever's true for yourself. Have compassion. We're all in this together. It's a lot. It's a lot. Another thing, sorry, this just popped into. Another thing that's really being ramped up this year is, of course, the with awakening and with ascension is like we all have to be true expressions of ourselves. And so that's another level of the multidimensionality. Linear is more conformist, multidimensional is unified, right? So there's diversity. So we coming to accept our diversity, but the diversity within ourselves, yes, with each other, of course, but really look at like who are you? What's unique about you that maybe you're afraid to express? I'm very aware of that for myself. What I'm doing right now, talking to you, it's my highest excitement. It feels like the truest expression of myself. Being a metaphysician, being a doctor of metaphysical science, and viewing everything the way that I see it, just seeing the world the way I see it. That's who I am. I don't try to be this. This is who I am. But I have been living in a world that has said, you can't be that. That's crazy. You're weird. So allowing myself to accept myself and really step into this place of love for my unique expression, my snowflake. I've had, I think we've all probably had experiences of unintentional conformity where because we each don't fully understand or accept who we are as an individual, that we've developed a lot of conforming patterns toward each other and saying like everybody has to fit into this little box, and if you're not in this box, there's something wrong with you. That's like right now we're seeing those two main boxes, right? Or ideas of boxes. I did have an experience earlier this year of somebody accusing me of being unethical and fraudulent. And with them just not understanding at all, and not willing to have a conversation with me about anything. One-sided research on who they think I am and what I'm doing. Very limited. You can't see much from inside that tiny little box. A lot of intense energies, intense emotions. And the gift in it that I chose to see in it is it prompted me to do some research and see, okay, well, is there something that I'm doing that's like in terms of my standing with government bodies? And I checked it out and it's fine. It's long story short, my degree is religious in nature. It's I do not do any medical practice, and I think this individual misunderstood that. So anyways, aside from that, but it really that experience brought me face to face with my own discomfort and who I am and my expression, what I do. So again, just in order to evolve and be of higher consciousness, we need to be a fuller expression of who we are. So all this push and pull and tug of war that we're experiencing in the world, there's so many facets to it. There's so many levels and so many dimensions to it. So it's not just political, okay? It's not. It's when we look at what's going on within ourselves, just keep exploring, breathe, and keep exploring where and how compassion can be your new superpower. Okay, I'm going to leave it here. Oh, I love you so much. I love me so much. I love this day. I love this time, as wacky as it is. It's incredible. It's an incredible time to be alive. So I wish you well always, and see you soon.